Transition Tuesday. I'm Jane. This is Joe. We wanted to give you some perspective on how we're working our PLAN challenge. Right, Joe? PLAN stands for Prioritize, Learn, Assess, and Navigate. And this is a process that we are experimenting with as Joe works through his first year being a person who is no longer in school. We're learning as we go, and we're taking you along with us on this journey. So I wanted to give you an example of how we've envisioned this process working. So we're going to take the example of Joe going to the Night to Shine dance that's coming up in a couple of weeks. The Tim Tebow Foundation has created this lovely program for churches and community organizations to host a prom for people with disabilities. If you go to, if you Google the Tim Tebow Foundation and Night to Shine, you'll see it. Their website is great, and there's lots of resources there if you're interested in it. So Joe has gone to that dance a few times, and I started, let's start with prioritize. We're gonna go through our steps and show you how the Night to Shine dance, how we're using our process to get Joe from here to that dance. Prioritize. Joe, I asked Joe, I saw something about the dance. I said, Joe, do you want to go to the dance? And you said, yes. Do you want to go to the Night to Shine dance? Yes. Tell me with your voice or touch my hand. Do you want to go to that dance? Yes? Yes. And we know that Joe has gone in the past, so Joe knows what it's all about. So that was a pretty easy goal or priority to set. The next thing is to learn. So in this case, we kind of already know what it is. What we needed to know is when and where and how to register and how Joe's favorite friend who goes to dances with him could register, and all the pieces and parts. So in this case, the learning part was pretty easy. We just went to a website. Assess. So when I say assess in this situation, I guess this kind of drips into what I was just saying about Joe's friend going with him. We needed to figure out, there are several events in our area, which one probably would be the best one for Joe to go to. Here's a couple of things that things to consider that we would be part of our assessment. How far it is. Joe does not like to be in the car for a long time. And also, I don't really want Joe's friend to have to drive a long way to get to the dance. You know, it's just she's a good friend and she has to borrow our car, and this way it's easier. She doesn't have to go anywhere very far. Then we needed to assess the willingness of the organizers of the event to what they do with the dance. In our learning is they put a buddy with a person. Now we've learned because Joe has been to the dance before, that if Joe meets a stranger at the dance who's going to be his buddy, they could be the nicest person in the world, but Joe doesn't have as good of a time. It really helps if the person who goes with Joe knows him. Would you agree? Does it help if you go with a friend? Do you enjoy yourself more when you go with a friend? Yes? Yes. Joe enjoys himself more when he goes with a friend. He feels comfortable, confident, and it just goes better for him. And how do I know this? Well, because I have the pictures that they take where he's making a face like, oh my gosh. So we know that Joe is better off if he can go with his friends. So I had to assess. Now, fortunately, because we're in a smaller community, I know the person who is kind of organizing the event. So I just reached out to her and asked a few questions, and we were able to work through it together, which was actually a help for the organizers of this event, because Joe probably isn't the only nonverbal person who needs a communication partner, who might have some anxiety about a social situation, who might need assistance because they're in a wheelchair or have some mobility impairments. So all of these things that I was trying to check on for Joe's ability to enjoy himself could also be a measure for other people's ability to enjoy themselves at this event. And then finally, navigate. So did we register? Do we have a registration confirmation? What is Joe gonna wear? How is he gonna, what time are they gonna leave? Are they gonna do anything beforehand? Are they gonna do anything after? Does Joe's friend know where the church is, where they're going? All of those things, those practical things, the who, what, when, where, why, and how things are settled and organized so that on the night of, Joe can go. A couple of other navigation things to consider. And this could fall in the assessment or learning categories. None of these things are hard, fast rules. We're just kind of giving you an example of if we know we're going to do priority, we know we're going to learn, we know we're going to assess, we know we're going to navigate. That kind of breaks things up, breaks a goal up into manageable steps. So the other thing we have to navigate is if Joe needs some hygiene, some personal care issues, where will those be? How can those be accomplished? So there's a lot for Joe to go to a social engagement. And navigation is a very important thing that we need to practice so that Joe can have success. So we have a couple of weeks to put our plan challenge in place, all of the pieces and parts. We have most of them done. We need to figure out what Joe's gonna wear and do a few little last minute things. But I wanted to give you a practical example of what our process looks like. And you've seen that it takes a little bit of time because Joe has to answer questions and I have to figure out the right questions to ask. And Joe has to, be given time to evaluate how he feels about things. So it definitely is a process. So we want to share it with you because we want you to know that we understand that all of these transition planning opportunities are a challenge. This planning stuff is a challenge. We get it. We know. We're here to support you. If you ever have a question or you want to share something about your experience, with practicing some of these things that we've discussed in our plan challenge, please do email us at transition2s@gmail.com. Thanks for coming along with us during the month of January, or whenever you happen to click on this video, and we will see you next time.